The trade station of Kellernein never truly slept. Lights stayed dim but alive. Air vents hummed like tired beasts. Creatures from 100 worlds moved through metal corridors, each carrying their own smells, fears, and secrets. Humans were still new here. Daniel Hayes stood near Dock 7, holding a datapad with shaking fingers. His clothes were worn. His boots were scratched. A thin bandage wrapped his forearm, already stained red again. He looked small among giants of steel skin, glowing eyes, and towering frames, yet he did not move away. A group of injured aliens sat on the floor nearby. One coughed weakly. Another shivered, skin changing dull colors of pain. Medical help was delayed. Security argued. Command was silent. Daniel knelt beside them anyway. "Easy," he said softly. "Help is coming." He did not know if it was true. He only knew he should not leave. That was when she stepped closer. Sira of the Velnari moved with quiet grace. Her people were tall, smooth-skinned, their eyes dark and deep like still water. They did not speak loudly. They did not rush. They sensed. Sira felt the station before she saw it, the fear, the panic, the sharp, bitter scent of survival instincts clashing in the air. Then she sensed him. The human smelled. Different. Not strong. Not dominant, but steady. It caught her attention like a soft light in darkness. She watched him give his water pack to a wounded trader without hesitation. Watched him use his own shirt to slow bleeding on an alien child whose blood burned human skin. His face twisted in pain. But he did not pull away. That scent deepened. To Sira. It meant something ancient. Bond potential. Other Velnari females noticed too. They lingered closer than needed. Let their presence brush him. Tested him with curiosity and subtle pressure. Among her kind, valuable males were rare, and this one radiated something dangerous. Kindness. Fear tightened in Sira's chest. On her world, hesitation meant loss. She stepped forward before doubt could stop her. Daniel looked up, surprised. Hi. She did not answer with words. Instead, she leaned down slowly, giving him time to pull away. He didn't. Sira placed her forehead against his shoulder. The contact was gentle, respectful. She breathed out. A warm, deep aroma spread through the air, rich with emotion, layered with warning, loyalty, and claim. It wrapped around Daniel like an invisible shield. The corridor fell silent. Velnari females froze mid-step. Their eyes widened. Some turned away instantly. Others stiffened, shocked. "That's a mark," one whispered. Daniel blinked. "Sira?" She stepped back, chest rising fast. Her hands trembled, but her eyes stayed fierce. "This human," she said quietly, voice steady despite the storm inside her, "is not unguarded." Daniel felt it then, not the scent, but the weight. Something had shifted. "What did you do?" he asked, not angry, just confused. Sira swallowed. "I told the truth." Security alarms rang in the distance. Medics finally arrived. The moment passed, but the air never fully returned to normal. Word spread fast on Kellernein Amperes. Velnari female had claimed a human. Not bought. Not forced. Claimed by choice. Daniel did not yet understand the cost. He did not know that such a mark invited challenge. That it bound Sira's honor to his life. That walking away later would break something sacred. All he knew was this. When the crowd moved again, she stayed beside him. And for the first time since humanity reached the stars, a fragile human stood under alien lights, protected not by power, but by devotion. Daniel had never meant to stand out. He was just a human in a galaxy full of wonders and dangers. Small, fragile, and ordinary. But ordinary humans had a way of surprising the universe. The ion storm had come without warning. The research outpost shook like a dying tree, metal bending and sparking. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Most crews had fled to safety, leaving the injured, the trapped, and the scared behind. Daniel stayed. He didn't think of heroism. He didn't think of recognition. He only saw people who needed hands, voices, and hope. He pulled alien children from collapsed corridors, ignoring the burns from their radiant skin. He dragged heavy crates to block debris, saving trapped workers. He shared his water, his rations, even when it meant going hungry. His face was scratched and bleeding. His uniform torn. His lungs burned with every breath. But he moved. One step, one hand. One life at a time. Sira watched him. From the moment she had noticed him, something inside her shifted. Her species could sense more than words. They felt intent through movement, emotion through scent. Daniel's scent was different. It was not power, not dominance, not greed. It was resolve. Pure, human determination layered with compassion. It was raw and simple, yet stronger than most leaders she had met. When he cradled a trembling traitor whose leg was pinned under debris, his hands shook but did not falter. The child's cries echoed in the chamber. Daniel whispered words that Sira did not understand, yet somehow they calmed the chaos. His scent spread warm, persistent, protective. Other Velnari noticed too. They were creatures of instinct. They tested males, measuring strength, dominance, and claim. Many had brushed past him, curious, even tempted to pull him under their influence. But Daniel remained unaware, untouched, unafraid. Sira felt a sharp twinge of fear. On Kellar-9, males like him could be taken if unmarked. To mark a male without consent was risky. To leave him unmarked was dangerous. The others would not hesitate to claim. What they sensed was valuable. She could not risk it. So she chose the oldest method known to her kind. The one humans could never fully understand. She marked him. Not for ownership. Not to trap him. But to protect him. The act was subtle. A forehead pressed to his shoulder. Breath mingling. Her aroma, layered with emotion, wrapped around him invisibly. It spoke to every female nearby. This human is chosen. He belongs to someone who will guard him. Daniel had felt warmth, confusion, a strange, sudden comfort. But he did not yet understand. Later, when they were alone, he asked, "Sira, why did you do that?" Her eyes were deep pools of seriousness, almost trembling with something unspoken. "Because you stayed," she said softly. "Because you chose to help when no one else would. Because you are rare." Daniel frowned. "Rare? I just did what anyone would do." "No," she whispered. "Most would run. Most would leave. Most would think first of themselves. But you stayed. That is why you are mine to protect." He still did not understand fully. Humans rarely claimed things like this. Their lives were full of choices, freedom, and moving on. But Sira's people valued something else. Intent, heart, and loyalty expressed without hesitation. She had placed herself at risk to keep him safe. She had warned the other females without confrontation, without violence, but with an invisible message they could not ignore. Daniel looked at her, his blue eyes wide. "You risked yourself for me?" "Yes," she said. Her voice cracked slightly. "And I would again, always." The air between them was heavy. Words were small in comparison to what had been shared. Daniel reached out slowly, almost afraid, and touched her hand. It was soft, warm, certain. He felt it, the weight of her protection, the gravity of her choice, and the depth of her care. Sira's heart beat fast. She did not need to explain the mark, not fully. Humans could never sense the layers she had woven into the act. But Daniel had felt its warmth, and that was enough for now. Around them, the station resumed its hum. Life moved on. Others went about their business, unaware of the invisible shield now surrounding the fragile human. But Sira would never leave him unprotected again. And Daniel, He was beginning to understand that some bonds were not formed by choice alone, but by actions, by courage, and by the willingness to stay when the world had already fled. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt not alone in the galaxy. And for Sira, the human who stayed was no longer just someone worth watching. He was the one she had chosen to guard. Body and heart. Days passed, but Color9 never slowed. The station pulsed with life, negotiation, and quiet dangers. Trade deals collided with survival needs, and every corridor hummed with overlapping scents, each telling its own story. Daniel moved cautiously through it all, still learning the unspoken rules of alien interactions. His human senses could not fully grasp the subtle tensions, the invisible battles of pride and claim that the Velnari wove around their valuable males. Sira stayed close. Not always beside him, she respected his space, but close enough that her presence offered protection. Her eyes constantly scanned for threats, subtle or obvious. Every other Velnari female who came near Daniel caused her chest to tighten. Their curiosity was polite on the surface, but beneath it was testing, measuring, probing. Daniel noticed the strange glances but did not understand them. To him, smiles and polite gestures were friendly. To Sira, they were challenge signals. One female lingered at a docking bay while Daniel adjusted supplies, her amber eyes locked on him for too long. Another brushed past with a soft scent of allure meant to draw him in. Sira's heart beat faster with every step he took near them. She could not act with words alone. Her people's language of claim was older, stronger, and more binding than a spoken phrase. The act of rubbing her aroma onto him was a silent warning, a message no other female could misread. And it had worked before. Now every subtle shift in the air reminded her that the others were testing limits, seeing if the human was unclaimed, waiting for a chance. Sira waited until the moment was right. In a quiet corridor, away from prying eyes, she leaned close again. Her hands rested lightly on his shoulders, her forehead brushing his. She exhaled slowly. The scent enveloped him, invisible but potent, carrying more than just warning. It carried protection, promise, and unwavering devotion. It told every female who might be watching, this human is chosen. He belongs only to her. Daniel froze, confused by the sudden warmth and the faint pressure of her presence. Sira, what is this? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. She pulled back just enough to look into his eyes. It is my way of saying no one else may touch you, she explained softly. It is not threat. It is protection. It is my promise. The human blinked. The concept was foreign to him. In his world, touch could not claim a person. In her world, one act could declare intention, challenge competitors, and bind hearts. He felt honored, yet anxious. Does it hurt? He asked. No, Sira said. But it binds me. If anyone tries to take you, I must act. Even against my own kind. Daniel's stomach tightened. He was not used to being the center of attention, much less a living symbol of a warning to a powerful alien race. His human instinct wanted to protest, to say he could take care of himself. But the truth pressed against his chest. He could not imagine navigating this universe alone, and he trusted Sira. Her scent lingered in the corridor long after she stepped back. Other females paused in their movements as they passed, sensing the invisible boundary she had drawn. Some withdrew quietly, recognizing the mark. Others hesitated, calculating. None dared approach him carelessly. Sira's chest still raced. The act of claiming him, even lightly, had tied her honor to his life. She could not back away now. If danger came, she would have to defend him. If rivals challenged her, she would fight with every strength she had. And if Daniel himself rejected her, the blow would cut deeper than any duel could. Daniel watched her closely. He understood the care, the tension, the courage it took to act this way. Slowly, he reached out and placed a hand over hers, feeling the pulse of life beneath her skin. It was steady, resolute, human in its own way. I think I understand, he said quietly. You're not warning me. You're warning them. You're protecting me. Syrah's lips curved in a rare, soft smile. Yes, she whispered. And I will do it again if I must. The corridor felt lighter then, though the tension did not fully leave. Daniel knew he had stepped into a new reality, one where protection was not offered lightly and bonds were not casual. And Syrah knew that every passing moment tested her vigilance, her patience, and her heart died as they walked together back to the living quarters. Every subtle glance from other females reminded her, this human was no longer unclaimed. He carried her scent now, her promise, and the invisible shield that told the galaxy he belonged only to her. For the first time, Daniel felt the weight of that truth. And for the first time, he realized he did not want to be anywhere else. Daniel had always believed that choices were simple. Stay or leave. Help or walk away. Speak or remain silent. But on Keller 9, choices carried weight far heavier than any human had imagined. The moment Syrah had marked him with her aroma, his life had quietly shifted into a new orbit, one he did not yet fully understand. He noticed it first in the little things. Other females avoided touching his arm when passing, their glances fleeting but calculating. Their whispers seemed to follow him through corridors. Sometimes he felt eyes on him when he was alone. At first, he thought it was paranoia. Then Syrah's words returned to him. If anyone tries to take you, I must act. Even against my own kind. That thought made his chest tighten. He had never been the kind of human who needed protection. He had survived storms, collapsed corridors, and endless cold nights because he had trusted himself to act. But Syrah's protection carried its own price. To accept it meant accepting responsibility not just for his own life, but for the consequences of her actions as well. One evening, when the station's lights dimmed to a warm glow, Daniel found Syrah leaning against a support beam. Her hands clasped, her expression unreadable. She seemed smaller somehow, vulnerable in the moment. Are you okay? He asked softly. She looked up, her eyes reflecting the dim lights like twin moons. I am, she said, though her voice wavered. But you must understand. When I marked you, I made a promise. To my people, to you. If anyone challenges this bond, I cannot hold back. Not even for my pride, not even for my life. I must protect you, whatever it costs. Daniel swallowed. The weight of her words pressed against his chest. So, you risk everything. Because of me. Yes, she said simply. Because you stayed. Because you chose to help when it was easier to run. Because you are rare. He looked down at his hands. They were calloused and scratched from days of helping, from acts he had thought were normal. But now, each line, each scar, seemed heavier. They symbolized more than effort. They symbolized expectation, responsibility, and the invisible chains of honor that Syrah had woven around him. I didn't ask for this, he said quietly, almost ashamed. I didn't even know there was a choice. You never needed to, she replied. Your heart chose before your mind could. That is why I acted. That is why I marked you. This is not ownership, Daniel. It is bond. And bonds demand courage from both sides. He swallowed again. I don't know if I have the right to accept it. Syrah stepped closer. Her hands brushed his, not in dominance, but in reassurance. You already have. By staying alive. By being human. By being here. Daniel felt an unfamiliar warmth rise in his chest. It was pride, yes, but also fear. Fear of the consequences. Fear of what it meant for him to be tied to her in ways he could not yet fully understand. If others challenged her, he could be in danger. If he faltered, he could lose her trust. The weight of survival was now shared between them, and that thought both terrified and comforted him. I will stay, he whispered. I don't fully understand. But I want to. I want to be here. With you. Her eyes softened, and for the first time in days, she allowed herself a small smile. That is all I need, she said. Your choice to stay honors the bond. That is enough for me, always. Around them, the station hummed and breathed. Outside, stars twinkled cold and distant. But inside, a quiet truth had settled between them. Daniel had learned that protection came at a cost, not just to those who gave it, but to those who received it. And Sira had shown him that bonds were not burdens to be feared. They were promises to be respected, nurtured, and defended. That night, Daniel lay awake, thinking about the aroma she had rubbed onto him, about the invisible shield surrounding him, and about the courage it took for her to stake everything for his safety. He understood now that being marked was not just an honor, it was a responsibility. And he was willing to carry it, even if it scared him. For the first time, he realized that in the vast galaxy, amidst chaos and danger, he had found someone who believed in him enough to stake everything. And in doing so, she had shown him the kind of courage humans could never fully explain, but could always strive to match. The day came faster than Sira expected. The council chambers of Kellarnine were vast, lined with holographic displays and hovering panels, echoing with the voices of leaders from a dozen species. Daniel entered cautiously, feeling the weight of every stare. He did not yet fully understand the intricate rules of alien hierarchy, but he could sense tension in the air like static before a storm. Sira walked beside him, her presence calm but alert. She had warned him quietly, her fingers brushing his arm. Stay close. Speak only when needed. Do not back down. Daniel nodded, trusting her instinct even if he did not yet understand it completely. The challenge appeared suddenly. A high-ranking Velnari female, taller than Sira and draped in deep violet ceremonial robes, approached with a measured, gliding step. Her scent radiated dominance, and every instinct in Sira screamed caution. The human is valuable, the female said, her voice rich and commanding. Release the bond. He may serve the station, but he cannot remain under your protection alone. Sira straightened. Her hands tightened, but her voice remained steady. He is under my protection, by choice and by trust. The challenger's eyes narrowed. Choice? Trust? These are words, not power. A human cannot bind a Velnari female. You overstep. Daniel felt a rush of heat in his chest, fear, confusion, and a strange determination he did not recognize in himself. He had seen Sira defend the weak countless times, but he had never imagined standing up to her own people on her behalf. I'm not property, he said, his voice firm, surprising even himself. I stay where I choose. The chamber went silent. Aliens froze mid-step, processing the audacity of a human speaking such words. Their culture prized submission and calculated obedience, yet here was a human standing calmly, yet defiantly, beside a powerful Velnari female. You speak without understanding, the challenger hissed. This is not your place. Daniel did not flinch. He looked at Sira, and she met his gaze with a small, almost imperceptible nod. Courage surged through him, not bravado, but truth. I don't need to understand everything, he said. I know what matters. She stood with me when no one else did. She chose to protect me. I choose her. That is enough. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Some Velnari whispered to each other, their eyes wide. No human had ever spoken like this in their halls. Boldness, loyalty, and clarity wrapped together in a fragile mortal frame, and yet it carried a weight stronger than any display of power. The challenger's lips pressed into a thin line. Her scent, once dominating, faltered against the invisible shield Sira had woven around Daniel. Every subtle marker of claim, every protective instinct Sira had laid, created a barrier the challenger could not cross. Sira stepped forward, closer than ever. Her voice rang clear, unwavering. He is chosen, not taken, not coerced. If you challenge this, it will not be for him, it will be for me. And I will defend him, whatever the cost. The challenger hesitated, sensing the truth in Sira's words and the human's quiet resolve. Slowly, she nodded, her pride warring with logic. So be it, she said finally, stepping back. Daniel exhaled. Relief washed over him, but it was mingled with awe. He had faced nothing like this before. The gravity of Sira's world, the depth of her claim, and the consequences of being marked were now crystal clear. Sira reached out and touched his shoulder lightly, her fingers warm and steady. You did well, she said softly, almost a whisper meant only for him. You honored the bond by standing your ground. Daniel's chest swelled with a mixture of pride and humility. He realized that being chosen was more than protection, it was trust. Trust that he could face danger, trust that he could hold steady, trust that he would not betray the courage of someone who had risked everything for him, around them. Life in the chamber resumed, but the atmosphere had shifted. Whispers carried respect. Other females kept their distance. And Daniel, for the first time, understood the true weight of Sira's aroma, her invisible mark, and her unwavering devotion. He was no longer just a human in the stars. He was someone worth protecting, someone chosen. And in that moment, he felt the bond not as a chain, but as a shared promise between two beings willing to trust each other against the universe itself. Sira's eyes met his again. We are ready for what comes next, she said. And Daniel, standing beside her, realized he was ready to face challenges, ready to embrace the bond, and ready to honor the promise that had already claimed his heart. Days turned into weeks, and life on Keller 9 settled into a strange rhythm. Trade continued, repairs were made, and the hum of the station became almost comforting. Yet for Daniel and Sira, every passing moment carried invisible threads of tension, care, and growing connection. The bond marked by her aroma had become more than warning, it had become presence, protection, and trust intertwined. Daniel noticed it in small ways. When he walked the corridors, he felt other females' gazes hesitate before drifting away. When he reached for supplies or helped the wounded, he sensed Sira's subtle awareness behind him. The aroma she had rubbed onto him lingered faintly, not just marking him to others, but reminding him of her vigilance. Every breath he took seemed tied to her, and for the first time, he felt the weight and comfort of being claimed in a way that was gentle, protective, and profoundly human in its impact. Sira watched him too. She saw the way he helped aliens without hesitation, the way he treated each life as precious, even when it meant risking his own. She felt pride, fear, and something deeper she struggled to name. Her heart, once cautious and guarded, had begun to tether itself to his. The aroma, once purely a warning, had shifted. It now carried warmth, promise, and quiet affection that neither words nor actions could fully convey. One evening, they worked together in the medbay. Daniel had lifted a crate of supplies that nearly toppled, grunting as he set it down. Sira's hand touched his arm instinctively. The contact was fleeting but electric. He turned to her, blue eyes wide, catching the faintest trace of her scent in the air. It wrapped around him like a soft shield, comforting and fierce all at once. "You're here," she said quietly. Her voice was low, almost a whisper meant only for him. "Always." Daniel swallowed, feeling the truth behind it. "And you're always here too," he replied. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of his understanding, the realization that trust, choice, and courage had bound them together in ways far stronger than fear or dominance ever could. Days later, while navigating the busy docking bay, another female tried a subtle approach. She lingered, letting her scent brush against him. Daniel froze, instinctively aware of the claim surrounding him, the invisible shield Sira had placed long before. Without a word, Sira stepped forward, her eyes calm but sharp. The challenger faltered, her dominance nullified by the bond between Daniel and Sira. She withdrew quietly, leaving the pair alone in the corridor. Daniel exhaled, astonished. I think I understand, he said. The mark. It's not just for them. It's for us too. Sira nodded. Yes, it protects you. And it protects me. It keeps us both safe. It reminds the others and ourselves what we have chosen. The human reached out and took her hand. Their fingers intertwined naturally, a gesture of comfort and connection. Daniel realized that for the first time in his life, he did not feel small, weak, or fragile. Beside Sira, he felt anchored, a part of something bigger yet tenderly personal. Time passed. Training missions, medbay duties, and supply runs filled their days. Yet every shared moment deepened their bond. The aroma Sira had placed on him became less about warning and more about belonging. Daniel would catch its faint trace when he closed his eyes, reminding him of her vigilance, her care, and the quiet declaration that he was not alone in the universe. Sira, in turn, began to rely on his courage. Even in moments of chaos, his presence steadied her. His choices confirmed her actions, and his loyalty validated the invisible promises she had woven into the bond. Together, they learned a rhythm human and Valnari, different in almost every way, yet bound by shared purpose. Trust and respect. One night, on the observation deck overlooking the swirling lights of distant planets, Daniel spoke softly. I never imagined that someone would do this for me. Not just protect me, but care like this. Sira stood close, her hand brushing his again. I did not mark you out of ownership, she said, voice trembling slightly. I marked you because I could not let anyone harm you. And because I cannot imagine letting you go. Daniel turned to her, heart swelling with emotion he could not fully name. Then I choose to stay, he whispered. With you, always. Her aroma mingled with the night air, invisible yet powerful. The bond between them, once simple warning, had grown into something neither species could have fully explained, something that carried both protection and love. Trust and promise. And in the quiet hum of Kellarnine, two hearts, one human, one Valnari stood together. Bound not by power, but by choice. Time passed. And the story of Daniel Hayes and Sira of the Valnari spread quietly across Kellarnine. The bond between them, once invisible, now unmistakable, had become something others could feel without words. The aroma mark, her warning, her promise, had transformed into a symbol of trust, loyalty, and something far rarer, mutual choice. Challenges came less often as others recognized the depth of their connection. No high-ranking female dared press their claim. The human had spoken for himself, and the Valnari female had already risked everything to protect him. Daniel had learned quickly. He moved with awareness now, understanding subtle signals, respecting boundaries, and meeting Sira's gaze with calm courage. He no longer felt small among giants. He felt anchored, valued, and seen. Sira noticed the change in him with quiet pride. Humans were fragile in body, but resilient in spirit, and Daniel's heart had proven unbreakable. Each day, his choices confirmed what she had sensed from the beginning. He was not only loyal, but capable of standing firm for what mattered. The aroma mark she had laid on him had begun to fade slightly with time, but the bond itself had strengthened beyond scent. It lived in their actions, their glances, and the unspoken understanding that neither would abandon the other. One day, as they worked together in the crowded docking bay, a young Valnari child approached Daniel. The child trembled, fear and curiosity flickering in their eyes. Daniel knelt, offering a reassuring smile, and spoke softly in human words, careful and patient. Sira watched from nearby, feeling warmth fill her chest. She had protected him, yes, but he had grown into someone who could protect others too. He had become more than just a human, she claimed. He had become a beacon, a proof of courage in a fragile, dangerous galaxy. As the day drew to a close, the station lights dimmed into the familiar glow of evening. Daniel and Sira found themselves alone on the observation deck, overlooking the planets and stars swirling in the distance. He turned to her, eyes wide, emotions raw. "Sira, I think I finally understand. It's not just about you protecting me. It's about choosing each other. Both of us." Sira stepped closer, her hand brushing his. "Yes," she whispered. "I marked you to protect you, yes, but I stayed because I chose you. You could have left. You could have ignored me. But you stayed, and now you choose me too." Daniel reached for her hand, holding it firmly yet gently. His blue eyes glistened in the dim light. "I do. Always I choose you, Sira, every day, in every choice." Her heart trembled at his words. The invisible bond, the scent, the warning, they had all led to this moment. No threat remained. No challenge loomed. What existed now was deeper than any mark could convey. Trust, loyalty, and love born in the harshest of places, and forged through courage, choice, and survival. The stars above Kellar 9 seemed to